Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the number one show to bring you all things Club América in English, from tactical analysis
Pelota para la banda izquierda.
to player updates. We've got you covered on all the latest news on Las Águilas. Now, let's start the show. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be breaking down Club América's 1-0 performance victory against Querétaro. We'll talk about that performance, and we'll see whether or not we should be pressing that panic button or if things are starting to turn on the up and up for Águilas del América. We'll talk Allan Saint-Maximin. Of course, Gucci Man is officially an Águila player. We'll talk about what we think his incorporation will mean to the team and whether or not this solves all of our issues going on into the rest of the season. And of course, to finish off the podcast, we'll be talking with a Tigres expert to preview this upcoming matchup against Tigres away on the road for América. So to help me do all of that, I'm joined by everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Dylan, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I'm still surprised at how mild the summer has been here in Texas, but the humidity has been no joke. So it's kind of a lose-lose still for me a little bit, but you know what? Doing good overall.
Nice. And you know what? I need to ask because I'm sure this is on everyone's mind. And last time you were on here, I'm sure everyone wants to know, how was Vegas?
Oh, man, it was so much fun again to see family, being able to spend time with them. It's been a while since I've been to Vegas, but being able to fly out there, it was really good. I enjoyed it. It was fun, but obviously good things come to an end. So back to reality for me, it was so.
Oh, well, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you had some fun. Hopefully you made some money, and hopefully you didn't get to see América destroy themselves in the League's Cup the way that they did.
That's a different story.
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk about Querétaro, but first of all, I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room, right? Which is Allan Saint-Maximin. Ever since this news broke that América was in talks to get him, and then a couple hours later, Merlo confirms that the deal is 100% done. It's felt like forever since we've, gotten an official statement from the club. Even when he landed in Mexico, the club just vaguely said Saint-Maximin's here for some tests. They never really actually confirmed or officialized it until today, in the moment that we're recording this on Tuesday, August 12th. América has officially announced Allan Saint-Maximin as their newest reinforcement for the 2025 season. Honestly, Dylan, I'm trying to pick your brain here. What are you thinking about the Frenchman?
I'm a little excited. I mean, when's the last time I really talked about our Frenchman, Ivan? That was Jeremy Menez, and that was
Jeremy Menez. I think we were on the podcast about it.
Yeah, I know, and it kind of seems like ages ago, but I think I feel cautiously optimistic. I feel like this is a signing that is hopefully going to breathe some new life into the squad. From what I don't really know much about him, but from just kind of hearing from Chris and kind of reading a little bit about him, it just kind of seemed like he brings some skill and some creativity, something that I think this team's really lacked. So I'm pretty excited to see how this goes. I'm really excited to see how he gets incorporated to the team. But I think again, it's cautiously optimistic but I feel like it's optimistic too because this isn't just some signing from within Mexico. The club actually ventured out overseas and this is who we want. We're gonna bring him here, and this is probably a piece of the puzzle that we're missing.
I love that word, cautiously optimistic. That might be the title of today's episode. I'm not gonna lie. It's just I feel like it goes well with everything we're gonna be talking about throughout this hour of América talk. But yes, I think it's a perfect way of kind of talking about this new signing, right? Cautiously optimistic. I've seen a lot of Americanistas superly. I think a lot of people are looking at this from a perspective of, well, I'm gonna be that. I really truly do want to see him succeed, right? I feel like the podcast has gone full circle now that we have another Frenchman in our lines here. But there was a lot of optimistic with Jeremy Menez, although maybe a little bit less so with the fact that we knew he was coming in injured already. We knew, his recent form wasn't at most the best, but still you thought quality-wise he was going to bring something to the squad. And at times, he showed glimpses of what he could potentially do. Saint-Maximin, though, comes at a different story, right? We always talk about getting a player on the right side of 30, and this is exactly the signing that we wanted to see. Saint-Maximin, 28 years old. You're looking at the other players like Boanga, already 30, looking to be 31 next season. So as you think about the scales, Saint-Maximin fits perfectly in kind of that bingo square where you're like, okay, perfect. This is exactly the type of player, the age gap, the ability, all that good stuff. And I get it that there is maybe some criticism to him and, his recent stints at Fenerbahce, at Saudi Arabia. He maybe didn't tear up the league apart, but he still has a lot of skills. And I think, if he can be more than half of the player that he was in Saudi Arabia, I think he'll tear this league apart. So there is a lot of optimism, and I do think that it should be granted. I do think, though, that we need to give it some time. Maybe not rush too much into it, and give him the time to adapt, because this is a lot different than when a South American has to come in and adapt to Mexico. This is a whole European that needs to adapt a completely different lifestyle, different language. There's that language barrier that we talked about, right? He speaks good English, which I think helps, because there's a couple of players that speak English, but he's gonna have to learn Spanish and all that good stuff. But all in all, I am excited. I do think he brings a lot of good stuff to this América side, like Chris has mentioned. Maybe he won't be the most goal-scoring machine that we have, but he will open up avenues. He will open up channels. He will be a creative engine for this team, and ultimately provide some assist or provide something in order for us to start looking into breaking these low block defenses, which we desperately need to find a way around them. So a lot of optimism, and I like it, but I think we should throw that word cautious in front of it in order to kind of maybe ease our way into it. But all in all, I think it's phenomenal. It's great. I mean,
it's good to know too that he wants to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw the videos. He was eating barbacoa. He was eating tacos and stuff like that. He looked like he's having a good time. The team looks like they're having a good time unveiling him, having him around. So I guess the $1 million question here, Dylan, is: does he solve all our issues?
Yeah, no, that is the question too. But I mean, I think when you look at it, especially on paper, like you kind of mentioned, I think it fills a void. That's something that this team is needed. But does it translate on the pitch? I mean, that's something that obviously we'll have to wait and see. As he integrates more into the squad. How often, I guess, because I obviously imagine he's going to come off the bench. But how often and when does Jardine decide to sub him in? Especially where we're at any point in the game. Whether we're up a goal, down a goal. I think it all depends on those things too. And we got to think of these different situations that we could be in at any point, any times. But good again, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a bomba, but I am excited. I think this is something that I kind of feel like I've kind of called on to when it comes to me calling out the board a lot, saying that there's doesn't really feel like nobody's coming. It just seems very quiet. On the transfer mill whenever it comes to this team, and then seeing this is like, well, this is something I was not expecting, considering how the last couple of transfer windows have kind of gone. So, again, cautiously optimistic, but excited for the future.
Absolutely, I think a lot of us are looking at this signing as a really good call to action. And hey, 2 years later, we finally have our Julian Quiñones replacement. So
yeah, 2 years later.
Yeah,
or was this 2 years ago?
Hopefully, that's not the trend, because it'll be 2 years from now till we get our Diego Valdez replacement. But yeah, I mean, it's looking good on that aspect. I think there's still room to improve this squad, and obviously hands are tied right now at the moment with needing to relocate a couple of foreigners, right? Javaido needs to find a new home. There was talks of him going to Colorado Rapids, although that kind of died out. Victor Davila, again, another player that a lot of people are saying could potentially leave. The whole Brian Rodriguez and that saga and whole novella and what turned out to be his just agent trying to stir up and make more of a fuss, but it doesn't look like he's going to be moving anytime soon either. So yeah, a lot of questions still around what this team's going to look like come the end of the transfer window, but we do need to move a couple pieces. And Dylan, we've been here so many times already before in the transfer window where América is still unable to do anything just because of the fact that they don't have any room in their squad to make any movements. And so, I don't know, let's just hope that this time around they can turn it around and find an avenue to kind of get rid of a couple players and, maybe bring in a Palavecino or a Guido Rodriguez, which I think are the two names that are being floated out there right now.
Was it last season whenever they didn't register Igor because of that? Yes. Because 2014, yeah, was last okay. Yes. Yeah, so there's that. So hopefully something is figured out, because I feel like this part of it too is where the bad business comes in. I mean, that's a whole different topic too. But I think looking at it now, we got to start doing some type of business and moving some people out, because that's going to be key, I think, in the future.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. But we'll see what happens. But Allan Saint-Maximin, who is officially going to be wearing number 97 and is going to have Maxi.
That's so dope. I like that.
Yeah. Right? You don't see that often. No. So, already kind of coming on with nice little surprises here and there. But yeah, 27, Allan Saint-Maximin, aka Mr. Gucci Man. Let's see what he brings to the table, and hopefully best things to come for America and him in the future. I don't expect him to play against Tigres. I maybe if we're lucky, we get to see a little brief cameo against Atlas, depending on how the game's going. But it looks like he'll make his debut against Pachuca and or maybe possibly against Chivas. But I don't expect it to take that long. I do think that he'll see minutes. If not against Atlas, definitely against Pachuca. But we'll have to wait and see. So that is the update about Allan Saint-Maximin. Let's move on and let's talk América versus Querétaro. So, Dylan, América finally gets 3 points on the board, finally gets a win, and oddly enough also gets a clean sheet after what seemed to be forever for a game to start. Originally supposed to kick off at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, ended up picking off at 7:45, I want to say, 7:45 Pacific. So it delayed about an hour and 35 minutes due to an electrical storm, and then lights went out. So, I mean, you just had this feeling that there was just this bad omen around the Estadio Ciudad Deportes, that you were just like, this game is not going to go the way we all think it's going to go. And it didn't, honestly. I think América started off very well. Again, I think you have to take everything with a little bit of grain of salt, right? Cautiously optimistic about the result. We get 3 points. That's great. Yes, phenomenal. There's a lot of stuff that maybe we didn't like, the way that we finished, the way that we didn't get to kind of break down Querétaro the way we wanted to. But ultimately, how do you view this game? Do you look at it with the perspective of, oh, the glass is half full or the glass is half empty?
Man, honestly, I don't really see that either way. And I say that because we still haven't lost in league, but getting 3 points is crucial because, I mean, we've seen this squad kind of similarly too, scrape by and get wins, in past tournaments. And, and yeah, I mean, it's not the prettiest of football, but, I think at the end of the day, I'm happy it's just 3 points. I think, and I know we'll get to 2, but I think the Tigres test is really going to be a true test, to see where we stand. Obviously, I think it's whenever you look at it, we see some of this team, the way this game went for Querétaro, we've seen some of this team play the way we kind of have, where, you get the frustration, but I think overall, I'm just kind of looking at it as we got 3 points. I feel like I'm leaning more closer to the glass is half full if I really had to pick.
Okay. I guess maybe I was the only one that maybe was a little bit exaggerating looking at it with the glass half empty. I guess it's just the fact that all these poor results kind of led up to kind of made it feel like América continues to be in this gray cloud that they just can't seem to get over or and under. The only way is through. And I don't know. I expected a better result, especially after a very weakened Querétaro side. I know there was a couple referee mistakes, a couple referee calls that should have maybe gone a different way for América. Querétaro playing with 10 men, I think, would have opened up the spaces. And honestly, it would have tarnished the game and we wouldn't have seen the best side of América. I think overall, the best thing was to play with 11 players on the pitch and see how we fare in those situations. But I just wanted to see more of a response. And I guess in some ways we did. But I guess I'm not happy that we didn't walk away with like a 2-3-0 victory, which is, I guess, a little bit ludicrous thinking about how poor the results have been, that right now 3 points, any type of victory is much needed to kind of build on and build a morale and so. So I guess there is, to sound like a broken record, cautious optimistic for me, knowing that, okay, we won against Querétaro. We didn't fix all of our issues. There's still a lot lingering on here. But at the end of the day, América wins, gets 3 points, and that's the most important part, right? We know that towards the latter end of the season, that's when you need to start picking up momentum. That's when you need to start building off and having your best football. And I guess right now, if we think about the past couple of games that América had, we can just roll that up into a very good big preseason. And now we're looking at what América could potentially be moving forward, because Querétaro was the last easy test. And now you're going up against Tigres on the road. And then after that, you have to go again on the road to Atlas. And I know a lot of people are looking at, well, Atlas, but they're going to have this new manager, right? They brought back Coca, and they're going to have a much different play style. They're going to be on edge. They're going to want to beat América. And then you have Papa Pachuca, the Clásico, so on and so forth. There's a lot of games that are going to be testing you throughout the entirety of this month and next, that honestly you have no space to kind of make mistakes. And I guess Querétaro was just kind of one of those things where I wanted to see more goals, stat pack a little bit, just because even though, like you mentioned, we're very much undefeated right now in the league, still we need to kind of boost as much as we can in whatever area we can.
Yeah, I think the defense was great. I mean, the clean sheet. I mean, how often do we sit in here or you sit in here? I've been always wanting a clean sheet, So, I think it was needed for this back line, especially from Malagón at this point. Honestly, though, he didn't have much work to really do, but I think that was something that we need to highlight and kind of bring to light too. Is that if this back line repeats, I'm sure they're going to probably struggle more, especially against Tigres, but I think this was a great stepping stone for this back line. Aside from Espinosa's goal, I feel like Ramon Juarez had a really good showing out and everything. So I think that's kind of the key focal point too. 3 points, and a defense that really seems like is starting to solidify itself and be a little bit stronger. It goes back to, like you kind of said, to just taking that and trying to build off that and build some momentum going forward.
Absolutely. And one last note on this Querétaro game before we move on. The fact that we didn't stat pad and the fact that we didn't get all these goals frustrate me more, because we could have ended the game like around the 60th minute, 3-0 up, and you just could have thrown out the youngsters and just gotten a lot more minutes for that youngster rule and kind of gotten closer to finishing off that. Another frustrating thing about it. But again, at the end of the day, in hindsight, it's a victory. It's a clean sheet. It's a good run for the defense. And at the end of the day, you get something to build momentum off of. And that will be the most important part going into the rest of the season. But anything else to add on regarding this América Querétaro game?
No, just like I said, I obviously, we could be nitpicky, all we want. But, I'm going to sit here, and just be happy with the 3 points, be happy that the clean sheet was there, kind of repeating myself, but still undefeated in the league. But we're about to go on a slew of tests here, especially starting with Tigres. But I think this is a good stepping stone. I feel like Jardine has what he needs from this game to build off of. I feel like maybe even the culture shifted a little bit with Allan, coming in, feeling like there's a breath of new life in this team, like I kind of said earlier too. So I'm again cautiously optimistic for this future. I feel like this was a great, 3 points deserved 3 points, should I say? And needed 3 points, but let's just see what they build on from here.
Absolutely, and I'm not saying that America didn't deserve the 3 points. Absolutely, they merited them. I just feel like they should have gotten a much more well-rounded matchup, and we would have had a much different conversation. But I guess, time will tell, and we'll see what happens. But even Jardine came out afterwards and later on, a couple of days after the game, said, on his Instagram post that they're working hard and that they're grateful for the support of the fans, but, they're still looking to build upon this result and show us a much better America side. So, again, a lot of optimism right there in that aspect. But yeah, look, Dylan's right. We can be as nitpicky as we want to be in this game, or we can talk about the fact that Henry missed the penalty. We can talk about the fact that Victor Davila again showcases nothing, or Fidalgo, is he still the same difference maker on and off the pitch and stuff like that. But again, it'll be too hard to kind of digest all of that with everything going on in and around the club situation. I've said it 1,000 times already. There's a lot of players that I think need to have a self-reflection moment and look at themselves in the mirror and say, am I good enough to be in this team? Am I still good enough to be part of this squad? And if the answer is yes, then they have to go out there and demonstrate it and showcase that they're still the player that they claim to be. So I just feel like we're in these moments where America needs to buckle up and just kind of roll through, get through the punches and come out on top one way or another. But yeah, I don't really got nothing else to add on in regards to this Querétaro game.
No, I'm good.
Alrighty then. Well, coming up next, we have a preview with a Tigres expert to talk all things América versus Tigres, or should I mention Tigres versus América, as América goes off to the Volcán for a very, very testy matchup in which I don't have a lot of faith coming up. Americanistas, today's episode is brought to you by Tom's Watch Bar, the official home of Club América in the United States. Every game this season will be streamed at Tom's Watch Bar. That's right, all the games, all the time, meaning you'll always have a place to catch our Águilas in action. So make sure to head over to your local Tom's Watch Bar to experience an América game like never before. Visit tomswatchbar.com/events for more information. Thank you to Tom's for sponsoring today's episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next segment here, América versus Tigres, or should I mention Tigres versus América. This is going to be our next matchup. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Is it Jornada 5?
Yes, I'm losing track of it too.
Yeah, it's Jornada Cinco. We're good. All right. It's doing this so many times, Dylan, you just feel like it just all blends in at one time.
Exactly, dude. That's how the week's running for me.
Absolutely. All righty then. But we're not alone this time, guys. We brought in an expert to talk all things Tigres with us, so that way we have a very good idea of what we're getting ourselves into for this Saturday. So joining the podcast for the very first time, let me welcome Luis from La U Time Podcast. Luis, how are you, man?
Hi, Ivan. Hi, Dylan. Great to be on here, man. It's always good to talk about our league and our teams. So it's a privilege to be on with you guys.
Absolutely. You ready for what a lot of people have tried to deem the new Clásico?
the Aldo Farias make-believe Clásico.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a one-man band spearheading that movement.
100%. Hey, but hey, trying to stick strong to that, so I'll give him props to that sense. But yeah, look, hey man, we're coming up against Tigres and a team that I feel like Dylan for the longest time, for at least the past 7 years that we've been doing this, I feel like we've been facing up against Tigres for like everything, whether it's friendly, official competitions, finals, you name it. So I could see why a lot of people were trying to call it, the new Clásico. But Luis, talk to me a little bit more about how Tigres is coming into this one. I mean, obviously you guys had just spanked Puebla, 7-0, which I'm sure was a delight for you guys. Not so much for the Puebla or the Puebla content manager for Twitter, but talk to me a little bit more about what Tigres is up to.
Well, the Tigres is coming in red hot. Last 5 games, 4 wins in the last 5 games, 19 goals in favor in that time span. So scoring in bunches, like you said, we scored 7 against Puebla, but we also put up 4 against Toluca earlier in the season. A good Leagues Cup campaign. So overall, the team's looking great. They're starting to implement Guido Pizarro's system. As you are aware, last season, through midway through the season, we got rid of Veljko Paunovic. Guido Pizarro retired, and he took over the team. And, there was some growing pains to try to implement his system. He had no offseason, so unfortunately our battles ended in semifinals, not only in Conca but in the league as well. And this season it seems to be going a lot better with an off season, with time to implement his system, bringing in a few players. I think that the team's looking way better, and it's starting to show. I think on the pitch you're starting to see a lot more quality and definitely players that are moving around, shifting around the way Pizarro wants them to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's evident with just the results you guys have been having, right? I think next to Toluca, you guys are probably second favorites with just the way things have been going right now. You're one of the few teams that qualified for, Leagues Cup out of the so-called, bigger teams. Although, the Friday Botanero ones are doing a good job right there, representing Liga MX at Leagues Cup. So, Dylan, we know that obviously we're coming into this one in a shadow of what Tigres is right now at the moment, right? Although I think the one thing you mentioned earlier on in the podcast is the one thing that we're going to be optimistic about is the fact that we're still undefeated in the league, right? So that gives us some optimism going forward and saying, hey, I know things haven't looked the best, but at least we know that through thick and thin, we're able to kind of get a result, and we haven't been able to lose so far this season. I'm sure that has to weigh something on the América players, right?
Yeah, I think it does weigh a little bit of something too. And at this rate too, I'd probably call it cautiously optimistic, cautious optimism here too, because it's always seemed like, we kind of go into the Volcan, struggle a little bit too. I mean, maybe we had, those games, where we go in, there and, walk away, with that winner, but everything. But, I think, that's something, Harden is probably preaching right now. Like, hey, you know what, forget Leagues Cup. We might have had our fair share of struggles, but you know what, we still haven't lost, we still haven't lost in the league. And so that's something we can hold our heads on and hang our heads high on and everything. I think that's something, especially to build on, whenever you're going forward into this, especially a tough opponent, early on into the seasons. Yeah, it's something to build on, and, cautious optimistic.
There we go. You know what, Dylan, if someone's listening to this, the amount of times we've mentioned cautious optimistic, they might as well have taken a shot every time that, we've said that, those two words put together. Luis, talk to me a little bit about what fans are thinking about in this matchup, right? Is this, obviously for us, we're looking at this game as the first real test for the league at least. Obviously, you guys said you played against Toluca already. I'm sure that was a big test for you guys. And then now comes América. I'm sure this is, with the results and with the way that this team has looked at, I'm sure you guys seen Toluca as much more of a bigger test than maybe playing América at home.
Well, not necessarily. As your fans are aware, we've struggled against América in the last 9 years. We haven't had a lot of success. Just going back in the last 5 games, versus América, we've only had 1 win. and it was just a 1-0 win. So we haven't performed well against America, and last season we got beat 3-0. So that was a big loss. It was one of Guido Pizarro's first league games. I believe it was the second one, and we were totally frustrated in that match. And as fans, we definitely want to get back to where at least we're competing, because in a lot of ways I think we've gotten spanked by you guys, and I think the fans are tired of it. So this is an important game for us, because it's a game where we need to prove that we can battle against the big teams in the league. You mentioned Toluca, obviously they're firing on all cylinders, but America, the last 4 or 5 seasons have been amazing. So it's definitely a team that we circle on the calendar every season, and we definitely want to win. So hopefully, with the boys playing red hot right now and at home, it's a game that we can win. Hopefully, but I think it's going to be a tough test. Jardini, one thing that he showed last season is that he outcoached Guido Pizarro, and so to me, that's going to be a big test for Pizarro too as a coach, to see if he can battle in the X's and O's against a proven coach.
Well, that'll be interesting. Yeah, the tactical battle right there, right? I'm sure Guido Pizarro has grown tremendously from last season to where he is right now, and we'll see. What tricks he has up his sleeve, and I'm sure Jenny has studied his playbook as well, seeing how good you guys have been. I'm sure he's gonna have somewhat of an idea. Now, let's talking about this whole tactical formation and tactics up ahead. Do you expect Jardine to play the way that he did against Querétaro? Not necessarily like for like, but as far as tactics go with formation 4-3-3, you think that's going to be something that we see? Or do you feel like this is Tigres, because they're firing on all cylinders because of the results that they've had and the much better track record they're having at the moment? Do you think that we see a back five for this game?
That was really tough. I mean, because you seen them kind of go a little bit. It seems like back and forth. I really think maybe, and I'm sometimes not the best one to ask about tactics here. I think sometimes I'm not sometimes. I feel like you gotta kind of ponder with that 4-3-3 maybe a little bit and see where it kind of leads, and then if he needs to shift, and I think maybe we'll see the shift.
You know what? I hope that he is, one, listening to this, because shout out to Jardine, but two, I agree. I do think that we need to not be cautious coming into this game. I think the minute you walk into the Volcan and you go out there with this cautious lineup to not concede or not to lose, then that's when it's going to backfire on you. I think we need to go in with the mindset of we're going to go play like for like, and we're going to, try to play our style of football and have Tigres adapt to us, which I know is going to be difficult, especially when you're away. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does go out with a back five. I understand why he would do that, but I would love to see him risk it a little bit more, play with a 4-3-3, and see what that's gonna bring us.
I feel like he sets the mentality for the squad
Absolutely.
if he goes up back five. So
yeah, absolutely. So I hope we see a much attacking America side. Luis, for your Tigres, how do you see Guido approaching this one?
Lately, because we don't have the personnel to play five at the back like Pizarro wants to, we've been going with the 4-2-3-1. One thing that you guys exposed from our squad last season was our fullbacks. I thought we were heavily mismatched. Your wingers versus our fullbacks. Cendejas against either Garza or Angulo, or Brian Rodriguez against Javier Aquino. It really showed speed differences. I think were quite a bit more from the wingers to our fullbacks, and I think we struggled. And so I think that's something that we'll have to button up. Defensively, we've been okay this season. Only one clean sheet, though, so that's something to be worried about, especially going against the powerful attackers that America has. It'll be a really interesting battle. I think for the most part, the midfield might just kind of nullify itself. We have a lot of weapons. You guys have a lot of weapons, so it might be your wingers against our fullbacks, and then I'd like to see our wingers go against your back line. I think we have weapons there to expose the back line. I think that's been the one weakness America has had these last 6 or 7 weeks, is the back line hasn't been as good as they were in previous seasons. So it would be nice to see like Correa, Bruneta, Ociel Herrera, Diego Lainez kind of attacking that back line to see if we can maybe get some scores, force some mistakes. And I think perhaps trying to pressure America as they're trying to play out the back, force some errors there, some easy scores. I think that's kind of going to be the tactic for us, to try to see if we can score against you guys.
Okay. How is your guys' aerial game?
It's actually really good. We have Nico Ibanez, center forward, who is pretty good in the air, but you wouldn't think, but our back line is very good. For example, Romulo Zuarg, tall center back, very good on corner kicks and set pieces. Juan Purata, very good on corner kicks and set pieces. So we have at least 4 or 5 players that can kind of help us out in any kind of set piece situation. And that's going to be also an interesting matchup. Your center backs versus our for the 4 or 5 players that we might send into the box in a scenario like a corner kick, for example.
Well, that is not music to my ears, Dylan, seeing how
No, it's
that
not.
is our Achilles heel. I'm sure that's going to be something that Guido Pizarro is going to try to exploit. But I guess that's another thing that we need to kind of keep in mind, right? Let's limit the opportunities that Tigres can get, in set pieces, whether it's a corner kick or a foul. I think we need to be smart in that sense. And it comes down to the defenders and how well they are on the night. A lot of people praise Ramon Juarez for the past couple of games that he's had. I'm sure he's going to get the start against Tigres. He's going to be up against some really, really good players and some really good aerial duels. I personally don't think he's the best player in the air. I still think he needs to work on that. But then again, he's not the tallest center back either, right? The curse of being Mexican. So I think it's just going to be one of those things where we need to see if he can step up to the moment. And another one of those things that I feel like Igor Lichnowsky will probably start in this game just because of the aerial threat. And we need someone that can clear the ball and can read those crosses in, and no one reads it better than Igor right now in the team. So we'll see. Obviously, it promises for a really good matchup. It promises for a really good game. Please, if you had to put together a starting 11 for this matchup, a predicting starting 11, what do you think it would be?
This is going to be an interesting one. Normally, I wouldn't hesitate to put our best 11, but as you guys know, we got Leagues Cup coming up on Wednesday versus a really good Inter Miami team. So it'll be interesting to see what Guido Pizarro decides to maybe hold back on a few players and do like a mix, or if he just goes best 11 versus an America this tough America team. Personally, I think he gives you your best 11 because historically we haven't done very good against America, and I think we do need to put our best 11 out, and the fans are kind of demanding a good result at this point now since, like I mentioned, we've only have 1 win in the last 5 games. So I think this is one of those games where you do need the best 11. So in that case, you go Nahuel at goalkeeper, you go Chuy Garza at left fullback, Juan Purata, center back, Romulo Zuarg, center back, Javier Aquino, right back. And then the 2 holding mids who'll probably go Gorriarán and Juan Bruneta. And then the 3 at the top will be Osiel Herrera, Correa, and then Lainez at the far right wing. And then at the top, probably Nico Ibanez. Nico Ibanez is questionable, though, because he is carrying a knock. So we'll see. If Nico can't go due to injury, then we would likely play Gignac or possibly Gacelo Lopez. So we'll see. That's kind of up in the air, the number 9. I still think Nico Ibanez has had enough rest to where he starts. So I'm going to go ahead and plug Nico Ibanez there at the 9.
All right. Well, it's a good squad. Whichever way you want to break the bread, it looks like it's going to be a good team. But Dylan, the only music to my ears is that there's no Cordova in the starting 11.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
I'm kidding. What would you go for our starting 11? Let's just try to see if we can work this together. If we are going to go with the 4-3-3, and obviously knowing that Tigres is most likely going to put their best players at their disposal against us, obviously Malagón in net, that kind of is a given. But here's the real question, Dylan. Do you give this kid Dagoberto the opportunity to continue to blossom and continue this good run of form, or do you put Israel Reyes there?
See, whenever you asked Luis that, I was sitting here thinking, like, God, who would I put at right back? Because, I mean, I do like Espinosa. I don't know if he has my full confidence yet, but I just don't like Isra there, and I'm not sure if I can trust Kevin. So I feel like Espinosa is kind of the pick here.
Okay. I do think that Espinosa going forward is phenomenal. It's his defensive side that scares me and worries me. And with him having to mark Osiel, that's, it's going to be a tall task for the young kid. But let's see. But I wouldn't mind giving him the opportunity. I think he's in good form, and if he can ball out against Osiel, then it's going to be an even better season for him going forward. At center back, I think we talked about it. Ramon Juarez, Igor Lichnowsky. I don't really see any different. Cáceres, I guess he's a good player. I don't know. Right now, he's not above Ramon Juarez, and he might be above Igor Lichnowsky, but I just think defensively in the aerial duels,
yeah,
you wouldn't risk it, and I'd put Igor Lichnowsky there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
I
left
agree.
back. Who do you put? Borja?
Yeah. Borges right now, especially coming off that assist, I think he stayed.
All right. And my midfield, the three I have is Alvaro Fidalgo, Chiquito Sanchez, and I don't know. Who else do you put there?
I think you just keep it Brian and Zendejas, no?
Brian Sendejas on the wings, yes. But we need either a cam or we need a center defensive mid. And I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Allan Cervantes just to be kind of a disruptor.
I'm thinking the wrong formation, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I'm going Allan Cervantes just to disrupt that midfield. And up top, La Pantera or Henry?
I go Pantera.
Yeah, I'm going Pantera too. I think he just hustles a little bit more, And nothing bad against Henry. I think Henry will find his place back into the starting 11. But at the time being, I think we give it to Pantera Zúñiga. So that is the predicted starting 11 for both teams. We'll see how much of our money. I trust 100% what Luis said. I would not trust 100% what we just said right now, Dylan. We're not putting money on our starting 11.
Saint-Maximin isn't traveling, right?
He will travel with the squad. I don't think he'll be in the locker room or anything like that. He just kind of will be in the stands. He's rumored to play against Pachuca. That might be the most solid debut. Maybe might get minutes against Atlas depending on how quick he adapts. But yeah, don't expect Maximan to make any type of cameo appearances on the pitch. Definitely in the transmission. I'm sure then it will find a way to flag him down with the cameras, but don't expect Mr. Gucci Man to put on his cleats just yet. But yeah, it's an interesting game. It's a fun game overall, I think. For the most part, both fans enjoy this matchup, right? I think there's times where the games come very close. Sometimes, I know that last game that you guys won, which was what was it 2 seasons ago, right? In the Clausura, where you guys won as 1-0 at the Volcan. That wasn't the most exciting of games, but for the most part, every other game has goals, has thrills. And I'm sure this one will definitely not disappoint. This game is going to be on Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. That's going to be live via TUDN. Or actually, no, excuse me. It's not going to be TUDN. It's going to be Telemundo. I forgot Telemundo has your guys' rights now, huh?
Yeah, Telemundo, Estrella TV, the app will have it as well. And then I believe FS1 has been picking it up in English as well. So there's 3 options there for the U.S. audience.
So it'll be on Peacock too?
I think they do Telemundo/Universo, but I think since this is such a marquee game, expect it just on the Telemundo, either the Telemundo app or the channel, which you can get it over the air.
Well, this is going to be on NBC and Universo. And when we played Juarez, it was also on Universo and on Peacock. So wouldn't hold your breath, but it wouldn't hurt to check.
Yeah.
And
as a backup, Estrella TV has it, and you can download the app for free, and it's free to watch. So if you can't get Telemundo or FS1, you can have that in your pocket as a backup viewing option.
That might be my go-to move. I'll be at a party on Saturday at that time.
There you go. There you go.
I already checked it, calculated. I'm like, there's no way we leave beforehand, and there's no way I get home before the second half. So I'm gonna have to write it out with my phone. So we'll see how that all ends up about. But Luis, is there anything else you want to add on for this preview? Something,
Are we doing score predictions on this one?
Yeah, we'll do score predictions. I want to leave that one towards the end, but if you're ready for it, we'll dish it out right now.
I'm going to go. I think this one's going to be a high-scoring one.
Okay.
I think both teams are going to go for it, and I think it's going to be a good one to watch, back and forth, plenty of action. So I'm going to go 3-2 Tigres.
That is a lot of goals. Wow.
That is a lot
When you
of
said a
goals.
lot of goals, you meant a lot of goals.
Yeah, I hope we get really high-scoring one. I think we're due up for one, and it should be a great matchup.
Okay, 3-2. That definitely would be some type of matchup. Dylan, what are you going with?
Ivan, here's another shot for the viewers if they want to do their game. I'm going to stay on the side of cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I agree with Luis. I think there will be some goals. Sorry, Ivan, I think Cordova comes in and scores one. But I'm going to go a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Wow. Okay. I will be superly cautious and optimistic and say, you know what? No, I'm going to err on the side of adventurous right here. We're going 1-0 for America. They somehow find a way to scrape through. It's a terrible 78th minute goal where there's a lot of polemica. And again, the narrative is the referees help America all the time. and we walk away with 3 points, and we're here sitting back next week talking about like, wow, that game should have ended a different result, but we walked away with it.
So we covered the entire spectrum on this one. So good.
Absolutely.
So one of us is going to be right here.
Yeah.
So this is good.
Someone's breaking bread. So, hey, we'll see what happens. But look, like I mentioned, it not to sound like a broken record, but this paints to be like a really good game. Tigres is on it. I mean, you guys saw what they did to Puebla. You just have to look back at the track record. I mean, Luis will tell you, very good Leagues Cup campaign. The goals that they scored against Toluca. América on the other end, you know, we're going through something right now. And there's no better way than to get yourself out of a tough situation than to go up against a title contender like Tigres with their roster, with their results. And if you're able to walk away with, a good result here, which is 3 points, ultimately that catapults you into a whole different world, into a whole different level. And then you start thinking, shifting focus against your next opponent, which is going to be, again, on the road versus Atlas. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Luis, anything else to add on before we wrap it up?
No, that's it for me, man. It's great joining you guys. It's always great getting to meet other members of the community. I know we're all kind of on our own little space, pulling for our team and everything, but I've gotten the privilege of kind of joining other podcasts throughout the years, and it's always fun to meet people, like-minded people who are doing good things for their community and for their teams. And just gonna give you guys props because you guys have been doing it the longest and been doing a great job at it, exposing the brand to the English community, which I think it's really important.
Awesome, mate. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
So those words mean more than you could imagine. You know, it's like you mentioned, a very small space. You know, I wish there would be a lot more people that, you know, do exactly like you did. You know, start like a Twitter account, name themselves, you know, Querétaro English or something. There's actually a Querétaro English out there. They don't tweet anymore, but you know, I just wish there was a consistency there. And I know it's sometimes a little bit difficult because life gets in the way. And sometimes, you know, you don't get the recognition at times that you feel like you deserve because of what you're putting out there. But really, honestly, like, we love the fact that there's a space for our league, not just for our fans, right? The América fans, but, you know, a place for the league. Because I think the league as a whole needs to come together. And eventually, I'm sure we'll find our way, right? Everything finds a way to kind of, history tends to repeat itself. And I'm sure there will come a time where we will see that again. I mean, you saw right now Necaxa with that show that they have right now on FX. I'm sure that will bring someone to start a Necaxa podcast. And when they do, we'll hopefully be happy to bring them on to this podcast and talk, with them about the matchup as well. You know, it's phenomenal what you guys are doing as well. I know you mentioned you guys have been doing this for 4 years. Keep up the good work. We know how hard it is to stay consistent. We know how hard it is to sometimes finish the season. But, you know, at the end of the day, we just kind of want to see everyone triumph within our circle, and that includes you guys. So congratulations, man. You guys keep it going, and we can't wait. Hopefully we get to talk again soon in the season. Maybe we'll see each other in Liguilla.
Absolutely, man. We'd love to have you guys on as well, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Absolutely. Well, with that said, Luis, thank you so much for taking the time coming out and talking all things Club América. Where can any stumbling Tigres fans that are listening to this find you guys in?
I'm at Twitter at Tigres_English, and then I'm also every Monday or Tuesday recording a podcast with La U Times, Arnoldo Lozano, and a few of the other guys. We all get together every week and record. So you guys can find us there as well. All
right, phenomenal. We'll put links in the show note as well so people can find you guys. Dylan, thank you again, man, for taking the time out. We're glad to see that everything went well in Vegas, and back to the grind.
Yep, back to the grind. It's been a pleasure like always.
Absolutely. Well, to everyone listening, thank you so much. We'll be back next week to talk all things Club América. Until then, you guys take care. And as always, arriba la América. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club América in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.